some superheroes didn't debut when you think they did. Years before their official first appearance, their powers, costumes, even their names were hiding in plain sight. One hero appeared in a throwaway panel decade earlier, unnoticed by fans. Another hero's entire concept was lifted from a forgotten one-shot years before their creation. These weren't coincidences, they were hidden prototypes, buried Easter eggs, and trial runs that rewrote comic history. So, which heroes were secretly around long before Marvel or DC admitted it? Here are 10 superheroes who existed years before their official debut. At number 10, we have Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers first appeared in Marvel Superheroes issue 13, March 1968, as a U.S. Air Force security chief assigned to monitor Captain Marvel's activities on Earth. At this stage, she had no powers, functioning purely as a skilled military officer and head of security at Cape Canaveral. Her early role placed her at the center of Kree-human tensions, but she was a supporting character in Marvel's storyline. Nearly 8 years later, in Captain Marvel issue 18, 1969, Carol re-emerged transformed. An explosion involving a Kree device, the Psyche Magnetron, altered her DNA, granting her superhuman strength, flight, and enhanced durability. This event marked her debut as Ms. Marvel, launching her career as one of Marvel's leading superheroes. The gap between these appearances led many readers to overlook her 1968 debut, as there was no indication she would evolve into a costumed hero. Marvel officially acknowledges both appearances as part of the same continuous character history, linking her military origins to her later cosmic role. At number 9, we have Nathan Cable Summers. Cable's earliest chronological appearance came in Uncanny X-Men issue 201, January 1986, where Nathan Christopher Charles Summers was born to Cyclops and Madeline Pryor. At the time, he was introduced simply as the couple's newborn son, with no hint of his future significance. 4 years later, in the New Mutants issue 87, March 1990, the same character reemerged as Cable, a heavily armed, cybernetically enhanced mutant from the future. Marvel later revealed that the infant Nathan had been sent forward in time to be raised amid war, returning as the hardened warrior who became the New Mutants' leader. Official Marvel sources, including handbooks and character profiles, confirm that the baby in 1986 and the adult soldier in 1990 are the same person. The connection was further explored in storylines such as The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix 1994, which depicted Nathan's upbringing in the future. This makes Cable's true first appearance occur years before his widely recognized debut. At number 8, we have Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock's origins trace back to Fantastic Four, issue 66 and 67, where he appeared as him, a genetically engineered perfect human created by the Enclave. Emerging from a cocoon with immense powers, he clashed briefly with the Fantastic Four before leaving Earth. 4 years and 6 months later, in Marvel Premiere Issue 1, April 1972, the High Evolutionary renamed him Adam Warlock, bestowed the Soul Gem, and set him on his cosmic path. Marvel's official handbook confirms that him and Adam Warlock are the same character, with in-story flashbacks and dialogue directly linking the two identities. This clear continuity establishes Fantastic Four issue 66 and 67 as his true first appearance, while Marvel Premiere #1 marks the beginning of his superhero role. The significant gap between these appearances meant that many readers first encountered him as a fully formed cosmic hero, unaware his story had begun years earlier in the pages of a very different Marvel title. The next 3 weren't background extras. One was in full costume long before their origin. One battled alongside Marvel's biggest heroes without a name. And one, their first story completely changes how we see them today. At number 7, we have Rocket Raccoon. Before he was a guardian of the galaxy, Rocket Raccoon quietly made his debut far from the spotlight. In the summer of 1976, a black and white magazine called Marvel Preview Issue 7 featured a strange sci-fi tale where a sharp-talking, gun-wielding raccoon named Rocky appeared. He was clever, brave, and utterly unlike anything readers had seen, but he was tucked away in the back pages of a niche magazine, unnoticed by most Marvel fans. Nearly 6 years later, Rocket returned in full color on the cover of Incredible Hulk issue 271. Now called Rocket Raccoon, he fought alongside the Hulk and instantly stood out. Fans believed this was his beginning, unaware of his earlier adventure. His first appearance was hidden simply because it lived in a format few superhero readers followed. Yet in those forgotten pages, the seeds were planted for one of Marvel's most unlikely and beloved heroes, a spacefaring raccoon whose courage would one day save the galaxy. At number 6, we have Groot. Groot's first published appearance took place in Tales to Astonish issue 13, November 1960, created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby. In this pre-superhero era anthology story, Groot was introduced as a giant, tree-like alien from Planet X who arrived on Earth intending to capture humans for experimentation. Speaking fluent English, he declared his plan to transport an entire town off-world. His threat was stopped not by superheroes, but by a single scientist who destroyed him using specially bred termites. Following this debut, Groot disappeared from Marvel's publications for decades. The story existed largely as an isolated science fiction tale from Marvel's monster book period, predating the shared superhero continuity. Marvel later reintroduced Groot in modern comics, directly acknowledging his original encounter with humanity. Modern Marvel comics reference Groot's origins on Planet X and include the events of Tales to Astonish issue 13 as part of his official history, clearly connecting the 1960 alien invader to the Guardian of the Galaxy he later became. At number 5, we have Sersi. Sersi's official superhero debut occurred in the Eternals issue 3, September 1976, created by Jack Kirby, where she was presented as a charismatic Eternal with molecular manipulation powers. However, her earliest published Marvel appearance came 13 years earlier in Strange Tales issue 109, June 1963, written by Stan Lee and drawn by Jack Kirby. In that issue, the Human Torch encountered Sersi, a mysterious, ageless woman living in exile on a remote island. She displayed transmutation abilities and an intimate knowledge of ancient myths. Marvel continuity later revealed that this Sersi was, in fact, Sersi, an immortal Eternal who had lived among mortals for centuries under various aliases, including the legendary enchantress from Greek mythology. This connection was established retroactively through official handbook entries and in-story confirmations, with modern comics referencing her past as Sersi. The 13-year gap meant most readers considered the 1963 tale a self-contained fantasy story, unaware that it introduced a character who would later become a core member of the Avengers. At number 4, we have Makkari. Makkari's official first appearance under that name occurred in the Eternals issue 5, November 1976, where Jack Kirby introduced him as an immortal speedster among the Eternals. Decades before, however, he appeared in Red Raven Comics issue 1, August 1940, as Mercury in the story Mercury in the 20th Century, depicted as the Roman god aiding humans. During the Golden Age, he also appeared as Hurricane in Captain America Comics issue 1, March 1941. These early versions were later retconned as aliases of Makkari. The connection was firmly established in Marvel Universe issue 4, 1998, which revealed in-story that Mercury and Hurricane were both Makkari in disguise. The official handbook of the Marvel Universe corroborates this, placing those timely era appearances in his history. This retroactive continuity bridged a 36-year gap between his Golden Age debut and his 1976 Eternals introduction. Because the original stories were obscure one-shots, most readers meeting Makkari in the 70s never knew they had already encountered him decades earlier in Marvel's earliest comics. We're down to the final 3. One was a trusted ally for over a decade before becoming a hero. One lived in lighthearted romance comics for 30 years. And the last? She went from civilian love interest to cosmic powerhouse. At number 3, we have James Rhodey Rhodes' War Machine. James Rhodes first donned the black and silver War Machine armor in Iron Man issue 284, October 1992, marking his official debut. However, the character's history in Marvel Comics began over a decade earlier. He was introduced in Iron Man issue 118, January 1979, as Tony Stark's skilled pilot and trusted ally. From that point, Rhodes became a recurring figure in Iron Man's world, assisting in missions both on the ground and in the air. His role expanded significantly in Iron Man issue 170, May 1983, when he temporarily assumed the mantle of Iron Man during Tony's personal struggles. By the time the War Machine armor was introduced, Rhodey had already built a long track record of bravery and service. Marvel continuity directly links his 1979 introduction to his transformation in 1992, with official handbooks and character profiles citing Iron Man issue 118 as his first appearance. The 13-year gap underscores the character's gradual evolution from ally to fully recognized superhero. At number 2, we have Patsy Walker, Hellcat. Patsy Walker's superhero debut took place in Avengers number 144, February 1976, when she donned Tigra's former costume, took the name Hellcat, and officially joined the Avengers. Before that, she had been a Marvel character for over 3 decades, first appearing in Miss America magazine number 2, November 1944, as a redheaded high schooler in lighthearted teen comedy stories. From the 1940s to the 1960s, she starred in titles like Patsy Walker and Patsy and Hetty, existing entirely outside superhero adventures. Marvel later merged these worlds through in-universe continuity, establishing that Patsy's mother wrote comic books about her youth, meaning those earlier stories are fictionalized accounts of her teenage life within the Marvel Universe. The official handbook of the Marvel Universe and other reference guides list Miss America magazine number 2 as her first appearance, with Avengers number 144 marking her costume debut. This creates a 31-year gap between her lighthearted teen comic origins and her emergence as a fully fledged Marvel superhero. At number 1, we have Frankie Raye. Frankie Raye's transformation into Nova took place in Fantastic Four, issue 244, July 1982, when she accepted Galactus's offer to become his new herald, gaining vast cosmic powers. This was her first appearance as a superpowered character. Her debut in Marvel continuity, however, occurred in Fantastic Four issue 164, November 1975, where she appeared as Frankie Raye, a civilian unafraid of Johnny Storm's flames. She was introduced as Johnny's love interest and appeared periodically through the late 1970s with no superhuman abilities. The storyline leading to her transformation was developed in John Byrne's Fantastic Four run, revealing her suppressed memories and connection to the original Human Torch before she accepted Galactus's offer. Official Marvel handbooks and indexes list Fantastic Four, issue 164 as her first appearance. In-story continuity keeps her identity consistent across both appearances, with no changes to her name or background, marking a 6.5-year gap between her introduction and her first appearance as Nova. Marvel history hides in plain sight. Which early cameo shocked you most? Drop it below and hit like, subscribe, and the bell for more hidden hero origins.